What's up gamers, Cryptico here, and welcome back to Lowering the Mark, a show where I analyze the current and former world records of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe time trial runs to see how these records get faster over time. We'll look at elements such as the loadout, racing lines, and mushroom usage to better understand what's bringing these times down. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to my channel and hit the notification bell to be the first to know when my videos go live. For today's episode, we're jumping over to the Star Cup one last time and taking a look at possibly the least fun course to finish up on, Dolphin Shoals at 200cc. On May 1st, 2017, the world record for this run was set at 1 minute 25.286 seconds by the Canadian player John. Fast forward to nearly 2 months ago on April 3rd, 2022, and the record was brought down to 1 minute 21.980 seconds by Alberto yet again. That's a 3.3 second improvement between records and a 3.8% faster time. Our former world record holder John has broken 38 world records across 16 unique runs and has spent 53 days holding at least one world record. Our current world record holder Alberto broke one more world record since we last saw him across the same number of unique courses and continues to edge closer and closer to 1500 days holding at least one of his now 39 current world records. At pre-release, this world record was over 10 seconds slower than it is today, but it would quickly find its way into the 124 range thanks to John and a few other players. A few more months would go by before Japanese player Davi recorded the first 123 ever seen. He wasn't done there though, as he would drop 13 consecutive records after that, which ended at this 123.3 that stood as the top time for over 300 days. Next up was Jimmy, who briefly went back and forth with Alberto on the way down to 122. That time would come from Japanese player Tane during the middle of 2020. Shortly after his little stint, Alberto and Suwako exchanged a few records before the Spanish legend went off and dropped 20 consecutive world records and took the time below 122, where it currently stands today. In total, the record was broken 75 times by 16 different players. These loadouts are very well matched, and there are some unusual advantages for either side. John goes with the combo of Gold Mario driving the Streetle with the rollers and the Super Glider. Alberto goes with the combo of Waluigi also driving the Streetle with the Azure rollers and the Paper Glider. The stats here are really close to each other. I mean, just look at the top speed. It's only a quarter point difference in the water speed and double that in anti-grav speed, which for this course is actually important to a degree. The acceleration and mini-turbo advantage go the way of Alberto as per usual, but it's only by that same quarter point in each. What's different here is that the former world record holder in John has the slightly higher handling stat. Usually the current guy leads on all three, but hey, first time for everything. Dolphin Shoals might be the only course I dislike, but also don't mind playing. 90% of the time you're underwater, so the drift mechanics suck, it's very blurry, and if you bump into anyone, you've already lost the race. But the course layout itself is one of the more fun ones, so yin yang. Let's watch it at world record pace. John hits a rocket start out of the gate before quickly drifting around the first turn and getting a mini turbo. He then bears right so he can grab a few coins and charge up this super mini turbo to close out S1. Alberto also gets the rocket start and quick mini turbo around the first turn. He'll bear left and go around that middle ramp, but still drift to get those same coins and the super mini turbo before he enters the gap in S2. That looked pretty much the same, but Alberto going around the left side of the ramp instead of the right actually saved him more time than you'd think. He's up on John by over 0.3 of a second going into S2. After floating through the gap and getting these two jump boosts, John chains a third one to get on top of this eel. Once he's there, he'll close out S2 with 2 more jump boosts along the eel's back. Alberto also floats across the gap, grabs 2 jump boosts, then gets another one to be on top of the eel. Only difference here is that he'll chain 3 jump boosts on his way to the end of S2. Again, pretty similar stuff here from John and Alberto, but that extra jump boost was all Alberto needed to put more time between him and John. His lead now sits at over half of a second going into S3. John gets the jump boost out of the cave and chains this long ultra mini turbo before hitting 2 jump boosts and going off the glider. Once airborne, he flies in such a way that he remains off the ground and will use his first mushroom in the air to fly on down past the final turn to the finish line. Alberto also gets the jump boost, but only grabs the super mini turbo around this long turn. After another jump boost and trick off the glider, he'll turn on the motion controls for a steroid enhanced version of what John just did. That's using his first mushroom to cut through the final turn while staying in the air on his way to the finish line. Same approach, different execution best sums up S3 there, as it was the most different part of that entire lap. Somehow in 2017, they just knew to stay in the air and use the mushroom instead of just cutting out the actual off-road. Alberto took that and dialed it up to 11 as he comes across the finish line ahead by just under a second. To start off lap 2, both racers stay to the left side of the track and drift around this turn for the quick mini turbo. They'll stay left and go around the inside of this middle ramp on their way to a tight super mini turbo to close out S1. At this point, there was absolutely no difference to point out, yet somehow Alberto was able to add another few tenths to his lead. It's probably the longer lasting mini turbos, but we gotta remember it's not by much, so I don't know, his lead sits at just under 1.3 seconds at the end of S1. S2 for both racers is damn near identical as well. John and Alberto each get 2 jump boosts across the gap before turning onto the next water pipe for a jump boost onto the eel. 3 jump boosts from both players as they make their way across and to the end of the section. It's interesting to see how consistent the driving is between a record from 2017 and one from 2022. Not only that, but the loadouts being as similar as they are is also interesting. Almost as interesting as Alberto still adding more tenths to his lead to go up by 1.5 seconds at the end of S2. John drifts off the ramp this time, but still goes for the Ultra Mini Turbo around this long turn. He follows that up with 2 jump boosts as he goes off the glider. Once airborne, he flies on a similar path to lap 1 before using his mushroom to fly past the final turn and cross the finish line. Alberto switches it up a little here. He still gets the jump boost and super mini turbo around this turn, but he squeezes in a quick mini turbo jump boost combo before tricking off the glider and going for that same motion glider strat from before. He flicks his controller and stays perpendicular to the ground for quite a long flight as he uses his second mushroom to stay in the air and fly down towards the finish line. Thanks to the better positioning off that jump boost before the glider, Alberto was able to carry so much more speed through this section and get the best possible angle to motion glider his way to a 2.1 second lead after outsplitting John's lap 2 by 1.1 seconds. For his final lap, John stays to the left and gets his quick mini turbo around the first turn. He then goes for this long super mini turbo around the next turn and floats through the gap for 2 more jump boosts before hopping onto the eel. 3 more jump boosts later, he's drifting off the ramp for one last long ultra mini turbo before tricking twice and gliding off the ramp to the final turn where he'll use his last mushroom to come all the way across the finish line. Alberto similarly grabs that same quick mini turbo around the first turn before charging up this long super mini turbo around the next one. Now floating over the gap, he'll grab 2 more jump boosts on the pipes before tricking again onto the eel. He'll get 3 more jump boosts before drifting around the final long turn for the super mini turbo, then sneak in that mini turbo jump boost combo before tricking off the glider for one last over-exaggerated motion glider and mushroom cut before crossing the finish line, posting a time that was 3.3 seconds faster than John's former world record. So by getting a few ultra mini turbos and motion glidering all over the place, Alberto was able to punctuate his 20th consecutive record on this course with that elusive sub 122, something that had been on his mind for sure during that span. During that reign, he would take half a second off his initial 122.49, just an absolute masterclass by the Spanish legend. The best known splits for this run show that there's still a decent chunk of time that can be knocked off the world record. All 3 of Alberto's best known laps have no more than 5 frames on his world record splits, and as you progress through the race, there's less improvement that can be made to each lap. All told, this world record could be faster by a little over a tenth of a second. Since Alberto has owned the course for so long, it's hard to imagine anyone else going faster than him. The worldwide top 10 consists of 5 national and 3 continental record holders. Alberto sits at the top, Asian record holder Moriyasu is down there in second, and just a few hundredths back in third is North American record holder Eternal X. 4th and 5th place share just 7/100ths of a second in separation and consist of Grace and Cream. There's a tie for 6th place between German record holder Joshua and Japanese player Pei. The bottom 3 of this leaderboard share only a tenth of a second in separation and include the Japanese players F, Ain, and Coco. Funny for how the second week in a row, Alberto is the top spot on a 200cc leaderboard by over 2/10 of a second. If you remembered, that makes this world record double strong. This course flies under the radar for a lot of people, so I wouldn't think there's anyone actively trying to beat Alberto at Dolphin Shoals, but who am I to say really? That marks the end of episode 75 and the first half of season 8. We've now entered the final 20 episodes of Lowering the Mark as we cap off the Star Cup with today's episode. Be sure to stay tuned through the back half of season 8 and then through season 9, which will be 14 episodes instead of the usual 10. Surprise! If you enjoyed this video, like and share it with your friends and comment on which course you'd like me to analyze next. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.